Angel Reese. Girl, you're my angel. You're my darling. Folks.
Angel Reese just got hit with the one stat she can't flex on: TV ratings. While Caitlin Clark was shattering viewership records like a seasoned superstar, Angel's preseason debut fell flat.
So I think it's time to finally, end the argument. End the argument that there is any sort of other needle mover that is even remotely close to Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. And again, the reason why we've got Hailey Van Lith up is because it was Hailey Van Lith's return as well as Angel Reese's return. Angel was not the only person. They had two players returning. However, right now in Carver, there are no tickets left for under $200.
And when those humiliating numbers dropped, Reese absolutely melted down. We're talking cryptic posts, side-eye emojis, and a wave of deflection that had her blaming everyone: the networks, the time slot.
Twitter fingers turned to can't even show up and buy ticket fingers. Angel Reese, going home to her alma mater, LSU, plays against the Brazilian national team in front of 6,300.
Even the weather. But here's the thing: the numbers don't lie. Caitlin Clark's exhibition game pulled in over 1.3 million viewers. Angel barely made a dent. Less than a rerun of Storage Wars. Less than a local chess tournament. That's not a rivalry, that's a wipeout. And now fans are turning. Analysts are laughing. And Reese, she's lashing out. She's always said people watch because of her.
I'll take that because look where women's basketball is. People are talking about women's basketball, but you never would think that we'd be talking about women's basketball. People are pulling up to games. We got celebrities coming to games, sold out arenas, just because of one single game. And just looking at that, I'll take that role. I'll take the bad guy role, and I'll continue to take that on and be that for my teammates. And if I want to be that, and I know I'll go down in history, I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize.
But when it really counted, America tuned her out.
You know what I love watching? I love watching her highlights of missing shots. She's got to be the worst shooter you've met in your life.
And turned up for Caitlin Clark instead. So what happened? Why did the self-proclaimed queen of the WNBA crash this hard? And what does her meltdown really say about the pressure she's facing off the court?
For instance, before a game or after a game or during practice, for real, you rarely ever hear from Angel Reese. And my question is why? Why don't you like to talk basketball, Angel? Is it because you miss so many layups, you're so bad?
Because if this keeps up, Angel Reese won't just lose the ratings war, she might lose the entire narrative. Let's start with the stakes. This wasn't just a preseason game. This was supposed to be Angel Reese's moment.
Be here with you guys today, Angel Reese. Girl, you're my angel. You're my darling. Folks, the Chicago Sky Game 1 of the preseason was underway last night. Angel Reese looked pretty good, but we're going to get into that momentarily. On the negative side, Angel Reese fans, LSU fans, all of you who tell us, oh my God, what a big superstar.
The hype was real. Social media was buzzing. Major outlets ran with headlines calling her the face of the WNBA's future. Her debut with the Chicago Sky against Brazil was hyped like a Super Bowl. Trailers, teasers, even press releases bragging about her arrival. But when the game aired, crickets. The numbers were brutal. Barely anyone watched. ESPN didn't even bother publishing viewership data, and insiders say the figures were so low, they didn't want them public. Some reports even claim the game pulled less than 100,000 live viewers nationwide. Meanwhile, over in Indiana, Caitlin Clark had her own exhibition against Brazil. But it wasn't even close. Over 1.3 million tuned in. That's a 13% jump over the league's regular season average.
But for Caitlin Clark to be as popular as she is, it's just kind of extraordinary. It's cut through the noise to an extent that I've never seen anything in women's college basketball.
But also, I think that people understandably have a fascination with extreme excellence. I've never watched women's college basketball before. I might watch Caitlin Clark, though. Extreme excellence has its own appeal.
Let that sink in. Clark's exhibition game outperformed most of the WNBA playoffs. It even beat Game 1 of the 2023 finals. And Angel, she got outdrawn by YouTube unboxing videos.
We got to talk about Angel Reese missing out on these press conferences all the time. What is this really about? Here's a girl, right, who loves to be in everybody's face, loves to be on front center, right? Always on TikTok, always on Instagram, always on YouTube with her podcast, but never during press conferences before a game or after a game or during practice for real. You rarely ever hear from Angel Reese. And my question is why? Why don't you like to talk basketball, Angel? Is it because you miss so many layups, you're so bad at basketball for real?
Therefore, it wasn't just a loss, it was a humiliation. And Reese didn't take it quietly. She started firing off passive-aggressive posts on Instagram. She threw shade in interviews. She even hinted that the low numbers were part of a bigger conspiracy. Reese blamed ESPN for poor promotion. She called out the WNBA for scheduling. She even suggested that people were intentionally setting her up to fail. It was a total meltdown, but fans weren't buying it.
On the fans showing up in attendance at your games, that all has something to do with it. You're not relatable. You're not likable. People only hear from you when you showing half off, your body, or you're showing off what you're wearing, right? Trying to make a fashion statement. You're showing off your new weave. It's so unbelievable. You're showing off your new lashes, right? But you don't talk basketball.
Because while Angel Reese was making excuses, Caitlin Clark was making history. She didn't lash out. She didn't blame anyone. She just played her game. And the entire sports world watched. From NBA stars to late-night talk show hosts, Clark had everyone's attention. Reese, on the other hand, had to watch as her rival turned an exhibition into a cultural event. The optics were devastating, especially for someone who built her brand on being watched. This is the same Angel Reese who told the media that she's the reason people are tuning in, the one who said she's the most impactful player in women's basketball.
Wait a minute, correct me if I'm wrong here. I thought Angel Reese was responsible for elevating the WNBA dump. I thought Angel Reese was responsible for taking the dump and turning it into an unmonetizable turd. Now, to her credit, it is a nicely polished turd. It almost looks appealing. Almost. Of course, it's still not appealing enough to generate profit, but I guess the WNBA is taking baby steps. I mean, what's one more year of multi-million-dollar losses? I thought Angel Reese was the star of stars, the icon of icons. That's what the mainstream media keeps telling me. Headline at Forbes from last month. How Angel Reese and Asia Wilson are leading the WNBA's growth.
And yet, when the cameras were rolling, the crowd didn't show. It wasn't just a bad look, it was a brutal reality check. Because the truth is, fans don't care about Instagram follower counts or endorsement deals. They care about what happens on the court. And right now, Caitlin Clark is delivering something real. She's not just a highlight machine. She's appointment viewing.
I just couldn't. So this is what an actual crowd looks like. Chloe Peterson put this up. That is a sold-out arena. 14,998 people. That's all it could hold. They all showed up.
Reese, for all her flash, still hasn't proven she can match that level of impact. And this collapse matters, because both women are being positioned as the future of the league. The media wants a rivalry. The WNBA wants a ratings boost. But if one of them can't bring viewers, that rivalry falls apart fast. Therefore, Angel Reese's reaction wasn't just emotional, it was desperate. She knows what this means. She knows how fast public opinion can turn, and she knows that if this narrative sticks, she could go from breakout star to media liability in just a few months. But here's where things get even messier. Her fans doubled down.
Talk about how much they're fans of Angel Reese, but they won't actually put in effort to show how much they're fans of Angel Reese. They won't put their money where their mouth is, a running theme with the...
How embarrassing. How embarrassing. Now, you're not going to hear this from the mainstream media who continues to pretend that the Bayou Barbie is beloved. You're not going to hear this from the media who continues to pretend that Angel Reese is a huge star. The Bayou Barbie might be beloved by some. Angel Reese might even be a huge star. But like I have been telling you guys for 2 years, there's one thing that Angel Reese is not. Angel Reese is not a draw.
They flooded social media with defenses. They accused the networks of sabotage. They claimed Clark was being handed the spotlight. But none of that changes the scoreboard. You can't meme your way out of a ratings flop because in the WNBA, numbers are the story.
LSU fans, where y'all at? Angel Reese fans, where y'all at? Chicago Sky fans, where y'all at? I know people from Florida flying into Iowa to watch Caitlin Clark go up against the Brazilian national team. I know people from California flying in to Iowa to watch Caitlin Clark go up against the Brazilian national team. I wouldn't be surprised if people from Europe, South America, Africa, China are flying just to watch Caitlin Clark return to Iowa to take on the Brazilian national team. But LSU, Angel Reese, and all of those bums can't dish up a couple dollars to watch Angel Reese play. And it's pathetic because Angel Reese had a damn good game. Damn good game. Showed off her new Reebok shoes, looking pretty good. Picked up right where she left off, 15 points, 10 rebounds, 4 for 7. The double-double is back.
And when Angel Reese finally got her big chance, the country looked away. So where does Angel Reese go from here? That's the question echoing across the league. And honestly, no one has a clear answer because the bigger the stage gets, the more obvious the gap becomes. Not in skill, not in talent, but in draw.
According to Forbes, Angel Reese is arguably the biggest star in the WNBA because she has more social media followers than everyone else. But like I say all the time, popularity on social media, that does not equate to the main.
Caitlin Clark isn't just performing. She's pulling in crowds like a rock star. Preseason arenas are packed. Merch is selling out. Her name trends on social media every single game day. And here's the kicker, she doesn't need to say a word. Meanwhile, Angel Reese has built a brand that needs noise to survive. She's always been loud, always been bold, always leaned into the spotlight. But when the spotlight turned on her and the audience disappeared, everything cracked.
I've tried to tell you guys, you heard me say it on this channel. A lot of Angel Reese fans are not basketball fans, and they are proving it. They proved it last night without a shadow of a doubt. That was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen. You might be like, well, Rhodes, what was so embarrassing?
Therefore, this meltdown wasn't just about the numbers. It was about the fear behind them. The fear that maybe the narrative is slipping. That maybe the crown she claimed is already being handed to someone else. And she's not wrong to be concerned, because fans aren't waiting. The media isn't waiting. And the league definitely isn't waiting.
They're getting that attention now. And I told you before that they'll have it sort of be like a reality TV. And that's what they're starting to give us. And we're paying attention. We're all tuned in. They're getting more attention than they've ever gotten before. And a part of it is Angel Reese. We cannot deny that. She was a part of it. Is she the part of it? No, that's Caitlin. Caitlin is the person who's the main factor. She's the top of the show. She's what everybody came to see.
Right now, Caitlin Clark is the center of gravity, the engine, the headline. Whether that's fair or not doesn't matter. That's reality. And the longer Reese stays focused on everything except basketball, the harder it's going to be to reclaim the story. But there's still a path forward.
This season, can we know how you felt about your play out there? Your 2 for 8? Can we know how you feel about your new role, supposedly being a point forward? Ain't no damn point forward. A point forward is a person that actually creates shots for others, easy buckets for others. That's what a point guard. Caitlin Clark don't just pass the ball down to Leah Boston and she turn around and make a layup and get an assist. She don't just get those kind of assists where she really didn't have nothing to do with getting Camila Cardoso or one of her players an easy basket. She not getting nobody no easy baskets. It's all off the execution of the play. Whether somebody cut back door and she make a good pass. She can make good passes, but a point forward is somebody who actually orchestrates the offense.
Angel Reese has the tools. She's strong. She's gritty. She plays with edge. But that edge has to come through on the court, not just in press conferences or Instagram stories. If she wants to prove she's more than hype, now is the moment. And that starts with tuning out the distractions and showing up in the next game like the world is watching, even if the ratings don't say so. Because here's the truth the media won't say out loud. This isn't just a Caitlin versus Angel story. It's a WNBA survival story. The league is riding a wave of attention it hasn't seen in decades. If this rookie class flops in the ratings, if stars like Reese can't deliver viewership, that wave crashes fast. So it's not just her reputation on the line, it's the league's momentum too. Therefore, this has to be the wake-up call, the pivot point, the moment when Angel Reese stops chasing the crown and earns it instead. Not through hype, not through talk, through real, undeniable, can't-look-away performances, because if not, the numbers will only get worse, the comparisons will get louder, and Caitlin Clark will keep climbing while Reese risks being left behind in her own story. And that's the part that stings the most. Not because Reese isn't good enough, but because she is. But greatness in this era isn't just about how you play, it's about what people see. And right now, what they see is one star rising and the other stuck defending shadows. Which brings us to the final twist. Some say the ratings don't matter, that preseason is meaningless. But if that's true, why did Caitlin's numbers shake the entire sports world? Why did Angel's flop cause this much noise? Because deep down, everyone knows ratings are reality. They reveal what fans care about, who's being followed, who's changing the game. And that's why Angel Reese's meltdown matters. Not because she lost one battle, but because the world just showed her what it's really watching.
Y'all know, man, it was only a matter of time before Cheryl Swoops said something and the fans were gonna be all over her.
Cheryl Swoops is back, and she's not holding anything back. The WNBA legend just took a blowtorch to the Indiana Fever, and Caitlin Clark is caught in the crossfire.
Come out here and just hate for the sake of hating.
Yeah.
If you don't, just shut Cheryl Swoops. How about that? Caitlin Clark is nice. Like, what are you doing? And so, you know, she's probably going to go number one to the Indiana Fever, and that's dope to me.
Two rookies, cut, gone before the season even starts. But instead of blaming the front office, Swoops turned her sights on the Fever's rising star and the coach who dared to build around her. Her words, brutal accusations of favoritism, a full-on takedown of Fever head coach Stephanie White.
What other white girls can I tune up from the Indiana Fever? Yeah, here we are. My goodness, I mean, we've had 2 preseason games. 2! And we're back to it. We're back here. She's criticizing Stephanie White. I bet Cheryl Swoops hates that last name.
And a scathing suggestion that Clark's teammates, yes, the white ones, got a free pass while black rookies were shown the door. This isn't just a roster controversy. It's a full-blown war of words between the old guard and the new face of the league. And Swoops made it very clear, she's not done. So why is a Hall of Famer launching verbal missiles at a rookie-led team? Is this just jealousy? Or something deeper? What happens next could shake the entire WNBA.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Clark, guard for the Indiana Fever.
Gets bumped, will take, and hit from 3.
The Indiana Fever made one of the boldest preseason moves we've seen in years. Not one, but 2 promising rookies, Bree Hall and Yvonne Ejim, were cut before they ever had a real shot to prove themselves. These weren't just any players. Hall was a 2-time NCAA champion with South Carolina. Ejim Gonzaga's all-time leading scorer. On paper, this looked like a cold business decision. The Fever had salary cap issues, roster limits, and tough calls to make. But the second the news broke, Cheryl Swoops exploded. Swoops didn't just question the decision, she lit up the entire Fever organization, and her target wasn't just the front office.
Cheryl Swoops, back in the news, getting pushback from fans, calling out Lexi Hull, Sophie Cunningham, calling out Stephanie White. Oh, I don't know about coaching decisions, blah, 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 blah.
She went after head coach Stephanie White, the veteran players, and Caitlin Clark. Why?
But to me, when I think about preseason, it really isn't so much for your players that you know are returning, the players that you know are going to make the team, but it's more about, I'm not sure about this particular player. Let me get her in a real life game situation and see how she handles that. But I'm also going to probably play her a few minutes with my starters, right? To see how that looks, how that works.
Because to Swoops, this wasn't just about talent. It was about who gets a chance to succeed and who gets cut before even stepping onto the floor.
Okay, example, the Washington Mystics Indiana Fever game. Because I know on social media, people were like, well, why aren't the starters in for the Mystics? They could win this game. And I was there, right? Because preseason is about, yes, you're going to play your starters, you're going to play your players. Typically, they don't even play that many minutes, right? Because you have so many players on your roster that you got to make roster cuts. So you're still trying to figure out who can fit what we're doing.
She asked a question that hit hard. If you're trying to figure out who makes the team, why wasn't Bree Hall playing more in preseason? Why give limited minutes to a black rookie, while players like Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, both white veterans, got valuable floor time?
I know. But I did have a question though with Indiana, right? Because even though the starters weren't in, like Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull they've been in the league for a while. You actually had players who, like Bree Hall, why wasn't she in that game per se? If you're still trying to figure out who's going to make the team, who you're going to cut. So I was a little confused with what Steph was doing, but anyway, it is what it is.
Swoops wasn't subtle. She accused the Fever of protecting certain players, not based on performance, but based on something else.
This is gonna be a spicy season, cause Kiki was like, "What, Sophie? Girl, don't come over here." Sophie was like,
"Already,
I was
game one,
here for it." But the fact that that's a rookie, right?
I know
Kiki,
she did not back down,
but she just turned and laughed. She was like, "What? What did you say? What are we doing?"
And just like that, race, favoritism, and power were thrown into the center of the WNBA's biggest preseason storyline.
Because you got to wonder if there's not something else that's motivating said comments. All right, just especially when you're talking about two young blonde-headed ladies on a basketball team, and you have a black player that just got cut. And Cheryl Swoops is not happy about that.
Therefore, this wasn't just a personnel move. It became a lightning rod for a deeper conversation. Was this simply a team shaping its roster, or was it something uglier? Swoops even threw sarcasm into the mix, mocking how she was told to stop criticizing Clark, only to now focus on the other white girls on the team.
What do you have to say for yourself? Let's hear you.
But I did have a question though with Indiana, right? Because even though the starters weren't in, like Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull they've been in the league for a while. You actually had players who, like Bree Hall, why wasn't she in that game per se? If you're still trying to figure out who's going to make the team, who you're going to cut. So I was a little confused with what Steph was doing, but anyway, it is what it is.
You were a little confused.
That line, it wasn't just shady, it was a direct hit at what she sees as a double standard. But here's the twist. The Fever had little choice. Due to salary cap constraints, they could only carry 11 players.
They did it. I don't see anything really wrong with it. And then on top of that, I mean, we see who got cut. The two players that did not play at all in this game, Jillian and Bree. Neither one of them played in this game and got cut. Now, granted, she could have been thinking about the minutes. Sophie had 34 and Lexi had 32. So maybe she's thinking about the minutes. But honestly, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean,
10 of those were basically locked in with guaranteed contracts. The only players who could realistically be cut were those on rookie deals. That meant Hall, Ejim, or Michaela Timpson. And of those three, Timpson had the edge. She was a defensive beast in camp and filled a bigger team need. Therefore, Hall and Ejim were the casualties.
The Indiana Fever having to make some cuts, and those cuts are happening right now as we speak. I think this probably was two players that many expected to be possibly gone, because I will say this, it's clear, I believe one of these new players will make this team. That's Michaela Timpson. My goodness, she looks like she has something, folks. She does. And I'm excited that she's part of the team.
Not because they lacked talent, but because they were in the wrong situation at the wrong time. But that didn't stop Swoops from pouring fuel on the fire. She questioned everything from playing time to rotations to the Fever's long-term vision. And in doing so, she painted a picture of a team protecting its inner circle while keeping everyone else on the outside. The fans divided.
So, as expected, we've heard the old Cheryl Swoops. We've heard the old Cheryl Swoops talking about preseason, and obviously Caitlin Clark's a picture here because I'm not showing. We're just going to listen to it. But as expected, never anything positive with the Fever. Never anything positive. In fairness, actually, no, she did say the Fever have a chance of winning, but again, when she's talking about preseason in general, there's something about the Fever.
Some stood with Swoops, calling out what they saw as systemic bias. Others defended Clark and the Fever, pointing to the brutal realities of professional sports. And in the middle of it all, Caitlin Clark, who didn't make the cuts, didn't manage the rotations, and didn't even speak on the situation, is once again the face of the storm.
A lot of people slamming the former general manager for getting this roster a little jacked up right now. So that's interesting. Fever fans expecting Bree Hall, role player at South Carolina, to beat out Sydney Colston for the roster spot were being a bit fanciful.
Because in today's WNBA, every move the Fever makes gets tied back to Clark, whether she likes it or not. And that's exactly what's turning this team's preseason into a pressure cooker.
Well, I understand that, but Colson, if you look at her, I mean, if you look at her numbers from last year, and I understand she's a valuable veteran, but yeah, I could see how some fans might think that was at least a mild possibility. That is so awesome. Another South Carolina player out of the WNBA. That's not great.
Let's be real. Cheryl Swoops didn't just drop a hot take. She launched a full-blown war on the Indiana Fever's culture. But underneath all the heat, there's a much bigger problem unfolding. Caitlin Clark has become the lightning rod for everything. Even when she's not involved in a decision, her name gets pulled into the headlines. She didn't cut Bree Hall. She didn't waive Yvonne Ejim. She didn't hand Sophie Cunningham extra minutes. But when you're the face of a franchise, when you're the one selling out arenas, you're guilty by association. That's the weight Clark now carries. Therefore, every cut, every contract, every coaching choice, it all loops back to her. And for some people, especially old school legends like Swoops, that's hard to swallow.
Cheryl Swoops is among the dumbest people ever and one of the most talented ever. Really, if you look at Cheryl Swoops' basketball history, she certainly should be considered greats, but all that goes away when you're inherently stupid.
The WNBA is changing fast. It's younger, it's flashier, and it's more polarizing than ever. Players like Clark represent the new wave, media savvy, fan-driven, and able to flip entire franchises overnight. But players like Swoops, they built the foundation. They fought for the league before the cameras ever showed up. That tension, it's real, and it's growing louder by the day. But here's the twist that nobody expected. Sophie Cunningham isn't backing down. When Swoops questioned why Sophie was getting minutes over rookies like Hall, the Fever vet didn't respond with a press release or a passive quote. She laughed, she smirked, and she made it very clear she heard the criticism and didn't care. Then she went out on the court and proved exactly why she belongs. In the Fever's exhibition against Brazil, Cunningham played with fire. She didn't just hustle, she owned the moment. Defense, communication, leadership, everything a veteran is supposed to bring, she brought in full force. Therefore, it's no surprise that the Fever are sticking by her. Chemistry matters. And in a season where every headline is a distraction, you need players who can handle the chaos, not add to it. But the problem isn't just on the court anymore. It's in the media, on social platforms, in comment sections. Fans are choosing sides. Some support Clark and the Fever's vision. Others believe Swoops is right, that something deeper is going on behind closed doors. And that's exactly what makes this story so explosive. Because no matter where you stand, the truth is clear. This isn't over. Swoops made it clear she's not letting this go. Every time the Fever make a roster decision, she's watching. Every time Clark's name trends, she'll be ready to speak up. And every time a veteran like Cunningham outshines a younger, less protected player, there's going to be fallout. The preseason was supposed to be quiet, a time for teams to gel, build chemistry, and prepare for the real battles ahead. But for Indiana, that battle has already begun. On the court, they're loaded. Off the court, they're a walking headline. So now the question becomes, can this team survive the spotlight? Can they block out the noise, the drama, the whispers, and just play basketball? Or will the pressure rip them apart before the season even begins?